What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm here today to preview Far Cry 5. Now, Far Cry 5 comes out on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on March 27th. So Far Cry 5 is the next installment in the very popular Far Cry series, a series that has quite a relationship with me. I never really could get into the Far Cry series, and I'm not going to hold that against this game. We're going to talk about the game's setting, we're going to be talking about the game's gameplay, we're going to talk about why I'm actually looking forward to this game, and going from there. So this game looks to do a couple of the things the past Far Cries have done, but use a lot of the things that they've learned from the past Far Cries in this game. This game has a lot of influences from Far Cry Primal. Now, I played Far Cry 3 and I stopped there. I never played 4 or Primal. However, Nick, a good friend of the channel, he has played both Far Cry 4 and Far Cry Primal, and he said he's really loved both those games, and I believe him. The thing with me with Far Cry is I could just never really get into how the game is structured. Something about the first-person shooter Ubisoft approach never really got to me. I've always been a fan of the worlds that they've been building, and this world is no different. This game is set in Hope County, Montana, a fictional place that they've just come up with, and if you haven't seen, the controversy around, I'm not really going to go into the controversy. There's been some controversy around basically the villain and the cult of people that have risen up, kind of like the alt-right, that have risen up, and people have criticized it and connected it to real-world America. I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out when the game actually comes out, but I'm not so worried about it right now. What I'm worried about, firstly, is the villain, Joseph Seed, going to be a good villain? The thing with Far Cry is they've always had pretty strong villains. You always go back to Far Cry 3's villain. He was a fantastic villain. Pagan Min kind of dropped a little bit, but a lot of the emphasis on Far Cry 4 was on Pagan Min. So we'll have to see how the villain of this game acts, and a thing that connects to that is you, the character. This is the first time in a Far Cry game that you're not a set character. You get to build your own character. You get to pick who you are. Now that's interesting, and I like the approach that they let you pick what you want to look like. However, when it comes to a story-driven game, that's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. How is the game going to react around you? I don't expect you to do much talking personally, and so I feel like by picking your own character, the way they tell stories in the Far Cry universe, I feel like they're hurting themselves by not making your character a set person. I could be wrong. That's just what I'm reading into it right now. We'll have to see when the game comes out. Now, besides that, there's going to be the actual world, the world you're going to be participating in, and this world is something that they're trying to mimic a little bit of what the past games have been, and try and use what they've learned in those past games to make this game better. They're removing a couple things. There's no mini-map, which I actually find kind of interesting. It's weird the amount of times that a game with a mini-map, that you actually look on the mini-map. It's kind of become a staple of the Far Cry games recently. They're taking that out, and with it also, they want the open world game to be more about experiences that you make. It's not going to be so much scripted as it is you make your own story, you make your own adventure, and you kind of make your own set pieces. There's going to be obviously tons to do. There's going to be different sections of the world you can liberate. You're going to have people for hire. You're even going to have animals for hire, where you can actually get animals to attack people and stealth people and things like that for you. So there's going to be a lot of different things you can do. You're going to be able to liberate towers. Like I said, liberate people, which you can eventually use as well. You can call them when you need them. And the game is kind of broken up into kind of sections of the world. Kind of reminds me of Ghost Recon Wildlands, a game that I did play, also from Ubisoft. Obviously not the same makers of Far Cry, but it sounds a little bit familiar in terms of that is what this Far Cry game seems to be. It's kind of breaking up this really big world, a world that you can do a ton of stuff in, and you can traverse with all sorts of different vehicles, both on land and on air, and also on sea, they mentioned. But you're going to have to lure out kind of leaders of the sections, kind of the cult leaders of the section of the map that you're in, and that's when you take them out. Those aren't the actual villain. That's not obviously Joseph. He's the big bad, and he will obviously, I would assume, you would face face him at the very end does remind me of Ghost Recon Wildlands, because it's the same kind of thing, right? There's all the individual faction leaders kind of throughout the entire map, and they all have their different rankings of the level you should be to face them. You do all that, and you kind of defeat all the little guys to then draw out the big guy. It's kind of the same thing. In that way, I don't necessarily like it, because I feel like they're copying their own games, but the Far Cry does always seem to make things different enough, unique enough, and the game, another thing, looks just beautiful. Watching gameplay and really watching more. I haven't watched a lot of this stuff since E3 when we saw the main trailer for it, but seeing more of it now when I was kind of looking into the game for this video, the game looks great. I will definitely give it that. The game looks absolutely beautiful. It does look different. We're not really used to this kind of setting, and the settings, like I said, always are something unique to Far Cry. They always try and make the areas very unique and very beautiful in their own way, and this is definitely beautiful in its own way. So overall, this game looks like a lot of fun. I'm very excited for it, although I'm not getting it day one personally. It's coming out for me at just a terrible, terrible time, a time when there's so many other games. That if you've seen our channel, you've seen all of our previews for the other games. There's a ton of other games coming out literally within 4 to 7 days before Far Cry, games that I'm going to be getting. I'm going to be buying Sea of Thieves, Ni no Kuni 2, and A Way Out, both the week before Far Cry. There's just too many games for me to buy Far Cry when it comes out. I totally see myself buying it later in the year, over the summer. This game is a game you can play cooperatively, which I really like. You can only play with people on your friends list. There's no matchmaking, but that's actually super fine. I completely don't mind that at all. I think that's a really cool thing. You can play the entire game start to finish, and all of their saved progress of that person carries over. I think that is a really, really cool thing. I think that's a thing that will sell the game even more, and I'm excited for it. This channel will have stuff on it. Nick and Pat are going to be buying the game. We're going to have a couple special videos on Far Cry 5 when the game comes out, as well as a special video for it the day it comes out, so make sure you stay tuned for the channel for that. So I'm looking forward to it, although I'm not getting it day one, not because I don't like it, but because there's just more games that are more anticipated in my mind. But Far Cry 5 definitely looks really, really good, so I want to know what you guys think about it. What do you guys think of the Far Cry series? What do you think about Far Cry 5? Leave it in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. We do previews like this on games, movies, and TV shows every single week. Like and share the video, and I will see you guys on the next game preview.